Young, no bit.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video, to a brand new stream. It is indeed your Kenyan boy BHG Frankenstein, back again with another upload on the YouTube side of things. So today we're going to be doing an Xbox One controller comparison video, and we're going to look at 3 different controllers, and we're going to just view all the controllers in depth, see what they have, see what they come with. I'm going to look at the pros and cons of each controller, and we are going to just digest and see exactly how good these controllers are, and probably a little bit of where you can buy these controllers and just have some fun with them and just interact with them. So yeah, so it's just it's just having fun with these controllers and seeing exactly which one is the best. This is just my personal preference on the video, so personally you can just choose your own controller and use the one that you actually feel is good, and use the one that you actually prefer. So let us get straight into the video. So just 1 minute. So and to fit it to screen, so just 1 sec while I level up the so there we go. So we have everything as good as we can get it. So these are the controllers that we are going to be looking at. So Francis Waigwa, welcome to the stream. You're saying Waza, welcome to the stream, thank you for tuning in. So the first controller we'll be taking a look at is this one, the Power A enhanced wired controller. So this is the first controller we're going to be taking a look at, and then we'll go to the second controller, which is this one, the Power A Fusion Pro. I'm gonna keep that aside for now. And the final controller we're going to be taking a look at is the Microsoft Xbox Elite Series 2 controller. So these are all the controllers we're going to be taking a look at, and I have all the controllers with me here, so we're just going to review them and see how good and how bad they are. So we're gonna start with this one, and both of the Power A controllers, just to mention, both controllers are wired, so there is no controller that is not wired. So all of them are wired. for the Power A, but for the Microsoft one, it is not wired, but you can make it wired. So let's start. So we're going to have we can see the controller. This is the general design of the controller, just the normal Xbox layout. You have your golden D-pad right over there. You have your Xbox button. You have your home and share button. So basically you can just call them start and select. And then at the back here you have your programming button. So that is the button you use and you want to remap these two back buttons. And that's it with this controller. So you can see at the back it's written Power A because the brand is Power A. So this controller does work with the newer versions of the Xbox, so it is future proof. And the controller is wired, so you just plug in your USB cable here and then you plug it to the back of your PC, so you can unplug and plug it back in at will. So the good thing about this controller, the cable is not directly soldered onto the motherboard of the controller, so it's very difficult for the controller to actually get spoiled unless you drop your controller several times, giving it stick drift. And at the back here, at the bottom here, you have your headphone jack, and you also have your volume knob for muting your microphone. So when you switch it to the right, you're increasing the microphone volume. When you switch it to the left, you are decreasing the microphone volume, and when you tap in the middle, you're actually muting the microphone. So the controls are being given there, plus, minus, and tap it in the middle for mute. So that's exactly what is all about this controller. So I do like the fact that it is wired, so it is very difficult for your controller to get spoiled no matter how hard you try, like I mentioned, unless you drop your controller several times. And I like how soft the triggers are, but then they're also loud. You can hear the loudness of the trigger. And analogs are very smooth as compared to what you'd get on an Xbox 360 controller. The analogs on this controller are indeed very, very smooth, and it's a nice controller considering you have your two back buttons. Like I mentioned, you're using this button, this button in the middle of the back, to reprogram your two, you could call them back buttons or paddles, to anything you want from X, Y, B, A, or anything from the D-pad. You could customize anything. So that's just it about this pad. So it has different colors. I just chose red because this was the only color available when I was getting this particular controller. And then now we go to the second one, which is the Power A Fusion Pro. This is the competitor to the Microsoft Elite Series controller, or Elite Series 2 controller. No, this is the competitor to the Microsoft Elite Series controller, not Elite Series 2. So you can see I bought a decal for the controller, but the decal does not fit that well. As you see, for the Xbox controller, we normally have this small hole for the sync button, and then at the bottom here is where we have that Type-C port. So you can see that decal does go on the controller, but it does not fit that well. So at the back you do have your paddle pack that you can add. So these are 4 customizable paddles that you attach to the back of your controller. It's called the paddle pack. So you can, it's called the Pro Pack. So you attach this and then you can remap it to any button that you want. And you also have, just like the Power A enhanced controller, you do have your middle button over here at the back for remapping. And then the controller does have a lid. If you are not a guy who plays with paddles and whatnot, you can just take your lid and close down your controller. So your controller is closed, but then if you want to slap your paddles back on, you just open the lid. After opening the lid, you just look at the direction, slide it in, and there you go. 4 paddles that you can customize to anything. This works with all games and is also future proof. supported by Microsoft as a third-party controller for Microsoft, but it is licensed by Microsoft, but it is not an official Xbox controller. It is a third-party company. So when we do actually take off the decal, we can see the original color. So this is the original color of the controller. It is white and I think some shade of green, but then you still have your golden this D-pad is, the outline of the D-pad is golden, but the D-pad itself is not golden, so we can see that. So you can see that. So these are, whatever is on top here, are some customized thumbsticks that I put. So, and then this one has trigger stops. So when you put it all the way to level 1, level 1 is where the analog, where the trigger does not go in fully. You can see when I put it at an angle, you can see the trigger doesn't go in fully. And then when I set it to the last one, which is trigger stop level 3, you can see the analog falls right in. And then when I put it at trigger stop level 2, analog just, the trigger just lies in between, in the middle. So that is it for this controller. So the Power A Fusion Pro, and just to mention, it is a wired controller as well. So it is wired, so you just plug in your cable, and then if you're done gaming, you just unplug your cable, as it does not solder directly to the motherboard, so you don't have to worry about your controller getting spoiled. And then as for this one, it's a bit different from the Power A enhanced controller. You can see you do have your audio jack for your headphones, but you do not have any audio control support, so you can't adjust your volume of your microphone. And one other cool thing about this controller, it has a magnetic faceplate, so you can order a different colored faceplate and just remove it. So you can see the faceplate just comes off, but let me just remove the thumbsticks for this video. So once you just remove the faceplate, you can see the thumbsticks do come off. And you can also just remove the thumbsticks, and you can see, so this is a magnetic faceplate. So if I want to put it back on, you can see it just clips back in, so you can just remove it. Malios, welcome to the stream, thank you for tuning in. So you just remove it, and you also get customizable thumbsticks with this one as well. I like using the tall thumbsticks even for the Elite Series 2 controller. I like using the tall thumbsticks. So once you just put it in, it just clips into its position, and then you can slap on your custom controller grip, like control freaks and whatnot, depending on what you have. Some of the analogs fell down as I was removing it because it couldn't fit together with the custom D-pad. So I just slap it back in position. You just align the analog with the shape that it takes on the controller. So like that, your analog is already in place, and you just slap on your case and it magnetically slaps on until you hear the click, and there you go. So you can, these I wouldn't call them control freaks, I would just call them custom thumb grips, actually fit on any Xbox controller that you have. And then I also have, like I showed you, the decal. The decal though does work well with the Xbox original controller, like official Xbox controller, because it does have the design and the support for the controller. Like you can see, everything else, the aesthetic does fit. We have the 2 buttons, and we have everything else. So we have the 3 buttons over here, and just like here we have the 3 buttons, but then there's extensions for over here where we normally have the sync button and your Type-C port. This one is a normal USB. So that is it for this controller. I don't think there's anything else to add about this controller, but the weight, it's a bit heavy and it's a bit hefty, and you also get a carrying case, and that's one thing to mention about this. You get a carrying case, and the carrying case as well allows you to travel with your controller and whatnot and prevent your controller from fall damage. So once you're done gaming, you just put your controller back to your case, and you're good to go. And now the final controller that we are going to look at is this one, the Microsoft Xbox Elite Series 2 controller. So just give me a minute, I get the controller, and then I'll be right back with you guys. So here we are with the Microsoft Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, so we can have a clear look at it. This one is black and it has a nice rubber, rough rubber texture that makes it really good for holding. It's the grip is very firm, so I don't think your fingers will be sliding off even if you're sweating, and that's one good thing about this controller. And now when you look at the official Xbox controller design, you can see exactly what I was saying. You can see it has the sync button and the Type-C hole over there where you put in your Type-C cable if you want to charge your controller, or if you want your controller to be wired. And like I mentioned, it does come with a carrying case, and inside your carrying case you do get your charging dock for your controller. So you can see this big black metallic thing. This is your dock where your controller sits while it's charging wirelessly. And then to charge your dock, at the back here there's a Type-C adapter where you plug it into that hole where the latch is lifted. So that's why you plug it in to the Type-C adapter and it will charge. And once your dock is fully charged, you can go ahead and charge your controller. And inside your controller case, you can see we have different attachments. You can see we have this metallic thing for adjusting the tension of your controller, and we can see we have different thumbsticks that we can choose from, and we have a circular D-pad. So if we want to switch from our current D-pad, it is just like it's a magnetic D-pad. So you can see I have the normal D-pad on, the one that is just looking like a plus. I can just take that off and I slap in the circular D-pad as it's just magnetic, and you can see the D-pad fits in just perfectly without any issues. Let me just re-enter the D-pad. So there we go, the D-pad just fits in without any issues. So there you go, you can see we've already swapped out the D-pad. There we go, we have the circular D-pad. And this is used to adjust how tight you want your analog sticks to be. So you can just remove it. The analog sticks are magnetic, they just clip on. So this is like your screwdriver for adjusting how tight you want the tension of your analog stick to be. So it's just like a screwdriver, so just insert it and rotate depending on how tight you want it to be, and you just rotate it slowly such that you do not damage the controller. So you just insert and rotate slowly. There we go. Now you've adjusted the tension of your controller, so that's easy to do. And you also get long and short thumbsticks with this controller as well. So like, let me get a longer thumbstick and replace it so that you guys can see. So this is one of the long thumbsticks, as you can see. You can see even how tall it is. So if I remove it and swap it out for the shorter thumbstick, you can see that the thumbstick is actually very long as compared to the default thumbstick that was there. So most guys normally say the taller thumbstick calls for more precision, so you're more precise, you'll hit your shots more precisely with a taller thumbstick than the shorter thumbstick. That's what most guys I've heard say, especially those guys who play a lot of FPS games. That's what they normally recommend, the tall thumbsticks. And then when you go to the back of your controller, you do have your 4 paddles, and you also have trigger stops just like the PowerA Fusion Pro. When you put it at the last trigger stop, the controller does not even, the trigger does not even go anywhere, it does not even go down. You can see from the angle I'm pressing, the trigger is just at the top. And then we have the middle one. This is the medium trigger stop. So when I press it, you can see the trigger goes almost fully inside. And then now when I put it at the beginning, now you see the trigger just goes straight down. It presses all the way down. So you can use the trigger stops to determine how often you normally press your triggers, or how deep you normally press your triggers. If you just want that quick trigger action, you don't want your trigger going all the way down, you just want to tap it and you already get the action. So Iron, you need to set it to the lowest possible, so you can see the trigger is not going anywhere. But this way, if you don't feel as if you're pressing your trigger, I definitely recommend putting it on the second bar, where at least you feel as if your trigger is going down but not completely inside. As the first one, I see the trigger just goes all the way down and it sinks inside. You can see it sinks inside completely. But then when I put it at the very last one, you see even when I'm pressing the trigger, it's still visible at the very top. It's not going anywhere. So that's one thing. The trigger stops help. And then you do have your mode button. So this controller does come with 3 active profiles. So with this one, it's not as simple as the PowerA Fusion Pro controller when remapping your buttons or paddles, because you do have 4 customizable paddles at the back that you can use, and the paddles are very clicky, like mouse clicky, which is very nice. So with this one, to remap your buttons, you need to use the Xbox accessories app. Over here, I'll give PowerA credit because it's very easy to remap your paddles on the PowerA controller. But then again, you can also use the Xbox companion app to remap your PowerA paddles, because it does work as well, because it will be recognized as an Xbox controller by Windows. So you can use that as well. So you can use the Xbox app to remap your paddles for the Microsoft Elite Series 2 and also the PowerA Fusion Pro. And yeah, so I think that's gonna basically be it for this particular video. Now we're going to start giving points where the points are due, and we want to now give votes. And I'll give a vote as to which is my favorite controller and why. So we're going to start with the PowerA enhanced controller. So this one I will give it like, giving all general factors considered, we're gonna be rating these controllers out of 10. So the one that will get the highest score out of 10 will definitely be my favorite controller. So this one I will give it an 8 out of 10. Because it just has only 2 paddles. If it had the 4 paddles, I would have given it a 9 or almost 9.5 out of 10. But it gets an 8 out of 10 because it has the 2 paddles, and it has an added bonus of a microphone a microphone control knob, which the other controllers don't have. So I'll give the Power A enhanced controller an 8 out of 10. And then we go to the Power A Fusion Pro. So with the Power A Fusion Pro, I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10, simply because of the paddles. So this is my own personal preference, considering this is the controller that I use on a daily basis when playing. So I'm just going to slap the paddles back on, and I'll give this a 9.5 out of 10 just because of the paddles. I like the way the paddles are spaced out on this controller. The paddles are spaced out pretty well, and the controller is indeed heavy, so you actually feel nice holding the controller because of its good weight and its good grip. Although it's plasticky, your hands don't slide off when you sweat, so the controller does have a nice firm grip. So this one will be getting a 9 out of 10, and we go to the number 1 controller. So this Microsoft Elite Series 2 will get a 10 out of 10 because it has everything that you want in an Elite controller. You have your removable thumbsticks, but let's go back to the Power A Fusion Pro. So with the Power, sorry for that. So we can see I was explaining about the paddles, and I was going to talk about its magnetic faceplate. That is one thing the Elite Series 2 does not have, so this one will give it a bonus. That's why it's getting a 9.5 out of 10, and the magnetic faceplate is what has given it a 9 out of 10 rating in my book, and the fact that it is wired as well, so there's nothing that is actually being soldered onto the motherboard of the controller. So the thing that made me deduct marks from this controller, not giving it a 10 out of 10, is the paddles. The paddles are spaced out properly, but the paddles are very loose. There are several times, or more often than not, I've been playing a game and I find my paddle has fallen off or my paddle has come off. So you find, like I'm playing Apex Legends, I'm in the middle of a fight, and then oops, my paddle falls off and I'm using all 4 paddles. So I need to get the paddle, I need to connect it back, and by the time I'm connecting the paddle back, I find that probably I've already been killed. So that is a downside, and that is a disadvantage, and that is not good. Now we come to the king itself of this video. This is the Microsoft Xbox Elite Series 2 controller. I'm gonna give this controller a 10 out of 10 because this controller has everything you want in a pro controller. It has all the 4 paddles, it has a nice form factor, the texture, the grip is very nice and firm, so even if your hands sweat, you're not going to the controller is not going to feel slippery. You do have your customizable D-pad. You can swap it out and put in the other D-pad, which is the plus sign D-pad. So with the Power A Fusion Pro, you can't do that. And then this controller, you can use it in a wired or Bluetooth mode. So you just connect your Type-C controller. You just connect your Type-C cable and you plug it onto your PC, and it's plug and play directly, has one-on-one sync with the PC. And then another thing that I like about the controller is just the design and the color. The black color matches well with the design of the controller, and the fact that you do get a charging dock with the controller case. Most of all Power A controllers are wired, so we just have to give Power A credit on that. The controllers are wired, so the Power A will get the point on that one because all the controllers are wired, and they are wired in the sense that it's not directly soldered onto the motherboard. It is a wire that you can plug and unplug at free will, so it's not soldered onto the motherboard. Let me give a very good example of that. So when we talk about our wired controller, we can talk about two types of controllers. So we could see this one. Let me just unwind it so that you guys can see exactly the difference. You can see with this one, you can't unplug the cable. Even if you tried, it's soldered directly onto the motherboard. So if this cable gets spoiled, it means you just have to get a new controller. But you now see for the Power A controller, you can see I can plug and unplug my cable at will. Let me demonstrate. So here is my Power A Fusion Pro cable. I can plug the cable, and then the controller comes on. You can see the controller light is on, and then I can also unplug the cable. So the controller is wired, but the wire is not soldered directly onto the motherboard. So the Power A Fusion Pro will get the point on that one. So this one, I'll give it a 10 out of 10 as well because of the paddles. The paddles are magnetic and they clip in properly, so not properly like firmly, they clip in firmly into the controller, so you can just remove them. There are holes at the back, you can see those holes, so the respective paddles go in. So the larger paddles are at the bottom and the smaller paddles are at the top. And with this controller, it is highly unlikely for your paddles to fall off during a game that you're playing. But with the Power A Fusion Pro, it is very easy for your paddles to fall off because the paddles have been given quite a lot of breathing room, and with this breathing room is where you find like you're gaming and your paddle just falls or gets loose and then falls back in place. So that is a disadvantage because you're using all four paddles and then one just falls off the controller, giving you a disadvantage. So in my personal preference, I'm gonna give the Microsoft Xbox Elite Series 2 the top priority, even though I've not used the controller that much. According to this video that I have done, even though I used the Power A Fusion Pro a lot, you know, you have to give credit where it is due. You're not going to say something is good just because you use it frequently while there's another product on the market that is better than what you're currently using. So I'll give the Power A Fusion Pro a 10. I'll give the Microsoft Elite Series 2 controller a 10 out of 10 rating, and then I'm going to give the Power A Fusion Pro a 9.5 rating because of the way the paddles just easily fall off while you're gaming. So that's just a downside, and that's just a no for me. That's why the controller gets a 9.5. And for the Power A enhanced controller, I'll just give this controller a 9 flat because it has an added advantage that the other controllers don't have. It has the share button and 2 additional buttons besides the share button, and it has a volume control knob. The Power A the Power A Fusion Pro and the Microsoft Elite Series 2 controller do not have a microphone control knob. In fact, with the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller, you need to buy an attachment, plug it into your controller so that you can control the microphone. So this one will just get a solid 9 because of that bonus. You have the volume control knob, and also just the fact that it has 2 paddles, and the paddles are easy to remap with the middle button. You just press the button and you remap with any button you want. And also the aesthetics of the controller is nice. It's a very hard plastic, so you won't find your fingers slipping off while gaming due to sweat. So this is will fall into, so I'm gonna give this one a 9. Let's give this 9.8, so this will fall into second place. and then the Power A Fusion Pro will fall into third place with 9.5. So the Xbox Elite Series 2 controller takes the winner of this video with a rating of 10 out of 10, followed by the Power A Enhanced controller with a rating of 9.8 out of 10, followed by the Power A Fusion Pro with a rating of 9.5 out of 10. So according to this video, you have seen the different Xbox controllers, and you have currently seen the controller which I have currently set as my personal favorite, besides not using the controller that much. But like I mentioned, you have to give credit where it is due. I'm not going to say something is good while there is something else better on the market that is better than what you are using. So that's just gonna be it for this particular video. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and don't forget to drop a like on the video, as it does help out support the channel, as it does grow the algorithm. And one thing I forgot to mention, with the Elite Series 2 controller, you do have your headphone jack. So all the three controllers have the headphone jack, but now you see the difference is for the Elite Series 2, in order to control your microphone, there's that jack there that dongle that you buy and plug in there. It's your controller attachment. Now that has your microphone knob and your volume knob as well when you buy that controller attachment. So it is an official Microsoft attachment. So that's just gonna be it. So the Elite Series 2 will be taking first place, followed by the Power A Enhanced controller, and then the Power A Fusion Pro will be taking last place. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more future videos like this, and I hope you have a good one. It has been your Kenyan boy BHE Frankenstein with the Xbox One controller comparison, and I'll catch all of you in the next one, and peace out.
Young, no bit.